Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Positive Success Show. I have a stellar guest with us today. Her name is Bernadette McBurnie. She is a women's leadership expert. She's an international speaker. She's a trainer. She's worked in wellness. She's worked in corporations. She's just a phenomenal, phenomenal woman, leader, and entrepreneur. And I'm so excited to have Bernadette McBurnie on the show. Hi, Bernadette.
Hi, Dominic. It's a pleasure to be here.
You know, it's quite amazing just the amount of time that we've known each other. So for everyone listening or watching, I met Bernadette at a Brendan Burchard event in 2018. And, I was a newbie at the time, but Bernadette, like from that time until now, I've watched your career grow and you becoming a TEDx speaker and all of these things. It is really quite awesome to see how much you've been doing and how much you've been serving others. Um, so to start off with, I'd love to know what got you into leadership. Like, how did you first start in your career, and how did that evolve into where you are today? In a short version, I guess, because I know you've been in it for a while, but it's
Yes.
yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. My trajectory, first of all, is I have a very broad experience. I spent 16 years in corporate. I was a stay-at-home mom. I decided to become an entrepreneur, and I've been coaching now for over 15, 18 years, and I've built an international wellness business. So, what I love about my trajectory, it goes from corporate to entrepreneurs so I'm able to navigate in both worlds, which I absolutely love. What got me into leadership, it's all my experience because when I was in corporate, I climbed from the ladder from software, engineer to executive roles. And as an entrepreneur, it's about leading your business, not just being an entrepreneur. It's really about being a leading, image for other people to inspire. So it's all about leading. And since I was very young anyway, I've always believed this is when you build people up, magic happens. But that also means about also taking responsibility of our own. So I'm in leadership, and I always say to become the best leader, you've got to understand self-leadership first, because we are becoming role model. I always say, if you are to lead others successfully, no matter who you are and which world you navigate, whether it's corporate or entrepreneur, you've got to understand how to lead yourself and become the best example, because we need to walk the talk and understanding everything that we do is intentional. So for me, leadership is key to the success. I always say, your life, your choices, your success are your own creation. And what does that mean? You've got to lead. You've got to lead.
And you said this reminded me of a conversation we had several years ago. I remember I called you from Peru and you were like somewhere in the world. And it was the first time that we made contact after the conference. And I asked you, and I'm like, Bernadette, how have you been so successful in your life? And you said one sentence, and it shifted the way that I thought it. And you were saying, Dom, I became very intentional about what I wanted and who I wanted to be. Can you tell us more about how intention and self-leadership, like how those two things come together and what that looks like for someone that's, that wants more, but they don't know where to start?
Absolutely. What I found over the years, no matter what I did, is too often I meet people and without them even being really aware of, they're more on automatic pilot than really thinking about the consequences of every action they take. And that's really what living intentionally is, leading your life intentionally. It's understanding first, what is it that you are striving for? Or are you just going through life and hoping something great is going to happen? Because that doesn't really happen. It's really about understanding where you are, where you want to go, and then understanding what needs to happen in between. But that means about taking responsibility and being intentional. And as I did that, I discovered that for myself, and and this is one of the things that I teach, and that when I work with the individual and teams, frankly. But I have, one of my quotes that I have is, be conscious of every choice you make. They create the life that you live. And that really is what living with intention means, because what are the choices that you have made? And then what are the actions that support your choices? Because the compounding effect of those small choices, there is no small choice. Mm-hmm. Every choice matters. Mm-hmm. From a health point of view, whether I choose to eat a donut every morning or I choose to have a good, healthy food, whether it's I choose to exercise or not exercise, whether I choose to say no to distraction, every little choice matters, because the compounding effect of those choices is what's going to create the big result that we're looking for. So to live intentionally takes work. It takes effort, which is why I found over the years that most people don't do it, because it's simple to say. It's not that easy to do, because we have to always remember is, okay, am I really doing what I say I'm going to do? Is what I'm doing really supporting what I say I want? Or am I just letting it happen, hoping something's going to happen the way that I want? That takes time, that takes focus, that takes effort. And I recognize that, which is why I believe only a very small number of people do it. But one thing that I will say to everybody, when you really become very intentional and you do it, there's magic that happens in your life. From a professional, personal standpoint, relationship, every aspect of life. It's just incredible.
Yeah, no, I love it. Just being conscious of your choices, like being present to the moment, and knowing like what I do right now has a ripple effect, not just today, but for actually for days and weeks ahead.
Absolutely. And to add to that, Dominic, is to make the choices here already. The step that is ahead of that is, are you clear about what success means to you? Are you clear about the life that you really want to live? And this, is something that I came to realize for myself, my gosh, 26 years ago. And it happened one day when I was at home with my very young children, and I decided to do an exercise that was about, what do I want my life to be? And at that time, I was thinking more from a career point of view, and I decided to be a stay-at-home mom at that time, because family is very important to me. But I wanted to, what is going to be my next step here, my next move? And I didn't know what that meant. And I did that exercise. And as I did that exercise and put down in writing what I wanted in my career, because at that time I was thinking career more than life, I realized what mattered. So anyway, the result of that exercise made me understand that I wanted to love my life. And for me to love my life, I had to build it the way that I wanted to live it. That's what it meant for me to be intentional. And to build it the way that I wanted to live it, it meant that I had to lead my life. I had to take ownership and responsibility for everything, the good and the not so good, right? Yeah. But for me, and that's what it means. And that's why, for anybody who knows me, I always use the 3 words, which is lead, love, thrive, because I had to lead my life, to love my life, so I could thrive in every possible aspect.
So good. So good. So this is, I love this. I love where the conversation's going, because when you said that at that time in your life, 26 years ago, and your career was the thing that you were thinking of, how did you break out of that framework? Because I think a lot of women, young women, middle-aged women, older women, like it's always like, oh, what am I gonna do next in my career? But how did you break out of that and started to look at your life? Because I think that's such a profound and deep question that
Mhm,
hard to
mhm.
answer.
And you know what's interesting is it's when I talk about this frame, and how to really build a life, is I share this with entrepreneurs, I share this with people who are in corporate and so on, and that resonates because who would not want to love their life and thrive in life? I don't know anyone who doesn't want that, frankly, right? But now it's about, I say, okay, but for that you need to lead. So, and that's where it's all about those choices. This, what I realized when I created that, I wasn't, what I realized even, looking back, is what I was creating then is what success meant to me. And I didn't think of it that way at that time. But what success meant to me was one word: happiness. And I didn't realize that's what it was. And why happiness? Because I know when I'm happy, everybody around me is happy. If I'm unhappy, there's a lot of unhappy people around me, right? So I know that. So for me to radiate and really it's all about being happy. And I had to be clear about what happiness meant. And happiness meant, I use a framework when I work with individuals. And I had that conversation right this afternoon with the client. But I had to be very clear, what did happiness mean from a career or business point of view or professional growth, right? What did that mean from a family and love point of view, from a relationship point of view, from a financial point of view? I firmly believe in giving back. To me, that just brings me so much joy. So that also is a piece of what I do. And in my mind and in my health, and so really encompassing and bringing all the pieces together and knowing then what it meant, then because that's my vision, that's my North Star, if you want, then that meant every action that I had to take would have to support that vision of success, which meant that vision of happiness. And that's where the conscious choice happened. Okay, now that I'm clear, it will be so much easier. And that's one thing I want to say. When we're really clear, the choices are simple because either they support what we want or they don't. And it's a lot easy to say no to something that we know intuitively that, no, that doesn't make sense. But where the choices or decisions are hard to make is when they look okay, but that's not good enough. I always say good enough is not good enough for me. Either it's a great choice, a great decision, or it's not. But just good is not good enough.
Ooh, so good. So great. Because what you're saying is, once you know what happiness looks and feels like for you, the choices become clear. But the choices cannot just be good choices; they have to be great choices, and that levels up the standard. And so I love this. I love this, Bernadette. It's so awesome. And so in terms of someone wanting to lead themselves and be unstoppable, how do you get to that place where you know that you're making great choices? Because you're right, there's so many choices to make. And
so many, absolutely. And we get bombarded by so many opportunities of so many this and that, and say, I could do this, I could do that, and then we say, why am I saying yes to everything? And then we just get, we get lost. Yes. It's easy to get lost, and there's so much noise around us, right? Or so many opportunities sometimes that come our way, and it's easy to say no to an opportunity that doesn't feel right. We all do that, right? But sometimes there's opportunities that feel equally good, and which one is the one? Well, that's when we need to go back to our vision. That's when we need to understand what is it that's going to fuel you. It's all about clarity. Very often I have people who come to me and say, Bernadette, teach me how to do this. for example, how often do we hear, oh, I have no time. Teach me how to be, to manage my time. And one of the answers is that's the least of your problem. It's never a question of time. We all have the same amount of time. So why is it some people are able to accomplish more, live more, experience more, to the point that they sometimes feel like Superman or Superwoman? Is because they have clarity of what they are building and what they want to live and experience. So then the choices are simple. And that's really what it is. So one, clarity. Second, commitment. And commitment means you don't come back. And sometimes, here's the truth. Sometimes we make decisions that are not great. We all do that, right? Sometimes we have to try things and then we realize, oh, that doesn't work. That's okay, right? We need just to accept that. But it's still the commitment to that vision. If we keep asking ourselves and go back and forth, that means you are still not clear about your vision, right? And then it's courage. It's really about finding courage, because courage may be to do something that some people around us don't approve. Courage to speak up, courage just to stand into our own shoes and our own power, even if it goes against what people think we should be doing, right? And then it's about just building, developing ourselves, learning the skills, because we all need to grow. We all need to develop ourselves. And that's really what it is, right? So clarity, commitment, courage, skills or competence, more exactly. And then, and that's a cycle that keeps repeating itself. And I will say this, the more you want, the more often you're going to go through that cycle. What I've done in the last 4 years keeps expanding and expanding, and I love that. But every time I expand, I need more courage, because I'm going to do things I didn't do before, right? I need to learn new skills. I need to commit more. I need all of that. But the rewards are absolutely incredible.
Gosh, so amazing. No, and it's that virtuous cycle, getting clear. It's so simple. Get clear on what you're building. Just get super clear on what you're building. Courage, commitment, competence, fabulous lessons. So Bernadette,
and one thing I want to add that can be of help, I really believe, to everybody who's listening. Once you really get clarity of what you're looking for, one thing that too often, it's not about goals. Goals are coming more from the brain point of view, which is important. I'm known to be rational, pragmatic, practical, but I'm also very much in tune with my intuition and my heart. And I always say, we've been given a brain and a heart. It's about really using both equally. And whatever vision you have it will provide you the fuel, the energy, the unwavering commitment when you are emotionally connected to your vision. If you're coming at it only from a brain point of view, I guarantee you're going to have distraction on the way, and they're going to take you away from that. When we are connecting emotionally to it, that's when it comes from our gut, it comes from our heart, and that's what is that much more powerful.
Mic drop, Bernadette. No, and you feel it, like, as you're speaking, it's like, I got it. It's like, this is your space. This is your superpower. You're telling your truth. You're stepping into your power, and you're showing people, you're demonstrating it. And so that, what you just said about emotionally connecting.
Yeah.
For someone that doesn't know what that means or how that feels, can you give a simple exercise?
I'll give you an example of a client. I'll give you two.
Okay, awesome.
Actually, one of a man and one of a woman, because I think we think differently, right? That's just nature. One of my clients, great guy, business owners, doing really well in his business, came to me and he said, Bernadette, I want to grow my business. I said, okay. And he said, and he was just, he wanted to really get to the next level. And he said, and I said, so what do you want? And all that I heard him talk about was money. And I understand that, creating more revenue and more profit and all of that. But I could sense that there wasn't that power behind what he was saying. It was all coming from a very rational, practical point of view. And I asked, I said, Dan, he said, Musa, I said, why do you want that? And I said, I could get all the right answers of why with this money, what he would do it to grow his business and all that. But there was no emotional power behind it. I said, okay, but why the money? And I kept probing and probing. It took us quite a bit because he was not used of doing that, right? And at one point in time, he finally said, because I want to buy a boat.
Okay.
I said, okay. And he said, it wasn't a big boat, nothing extravagant. I said, I want to buy a boat. Why do you want a boat? And that's when he started to go inside, and I could see the change on his face. I said, because I want to take my grandson fishing. That was the real power, right? And as he was saying that, there was tears coming onto him because all he remembered was his own childhood when he was able to go fishing with his grandfather, and he wanted to give that to his grandson.
Look, I'm even crying. No, because it's yeah.
That's it. And from that moment on, because what he was building for his business was not easy.
Yeah.
But then and before he just gave up but from that moment on, he just shifted his strategy of how he was going to develop his business. He was ready to take some risk he wasn't ready to take before. And if things didn't happen the way, he was just going at it, and he made what he wanted to do. But he had to find that power. So that's an example. Now I have another example, and this is this client. And for her, it was, her vision, part of her vision sounds busy, but for her, it was, for a number of years, she didn't pay attention, and she just, put a lot of weight, right, over the years. And just for the women I know that who are listening, I know you'll understand that she literally, when I met her, was a size 28. I mean, really just a large woman, wonderful woman, but that's all. And for years and years, she just thought that was her fate for plenty of reasons. And anyway, long story short, same thing, because for her, all what she did was about losing weight, and, and tried everything that she could, went the yo-yo, what I call the yo-yo, and never did it. Until we really got to understand, say, why do you want to do that? And she started to work with me, and it's actually not a long time ago. And when I met her, we worked on her mind and what that meant. The weight was not about weight. It was about finding herself back. It was not just the physical, but because in the process, she lost confidence. She felt that she could not go for the career that she wanted. Or relationship just broke down. And by that time, and by the time we worked, and then I recommended that she also work with somebody specifically for that. But so she had somebody working on her physical aspects, and then I worked on her mindset. By the end of 9 months, her goal was to drop 60 pounds, which is incredible, right? She never did before. She didn't drop 60 pounds. She dropped 45 pounds. What an accomplishment. Another 2 months, she dropped altogether 65 pounds. How did that happen? Because she had to connect emotionally to why this mattered. While up to now, she just focused on losing weight. That's not enough. It was about finding herself, building back the relationship that she wanted. It was about building herself back up. And that is what it is. The emotional connection is what's going to, and she encountered, defeat and felt discouraged about that. But why did she break through that? because what was at stake was far more important than losing the weight.
So good. So good. Oh my gosh, great examples. I love it. I love it. And for the listeners, like take these notes. Like this is powerful, powerful coaching right here. Emotionally connect with your why,
Yeah.
with what the reason why you want that external thing, that external outcome. What is the reason? And it's only within you. So amazing.
Exactly. And that's how we build resilience. A lot of time, so often, Dominique, I have people say to me, but Bernadette, I don't know what you have, but you're always happy. And I always say, well, first of all, it's a choice. I choose to be happy no matter what happens to me. I have bad days like everyone, right? But that's what I'm striving for, is to live a life of happiness and fulfillment. So everything that I do must support that. And I choose to make those choices.
So good. And so Bernadette, like I was just gonna ask you, like, in terms of the challenges and the roadblocks that happen, what do you do to continue pushing through, like to stay positive, to keep, like, because it happens to a lot of us. And as your clients, they were discouraged, people get disempowered. But like
Yes.
for you in your life, in your experience, moments of disempowerment or that those roadblocks, what have you done to lift yourself up, with yourself out?
That's a really great question, because you're absolutely right, Dominique. Is that happens to every one of us, myself included, right? The difference is I've learned to manage those moments, which means now I don't stay down the way that I was staying down before. A few years ago, when I was into those down moments, I could stay down for a few days sometimes, even longer, or I procrastinated or whatever. Now it doesn't happen to me because I've learned. It's all a question of practice. This is about developing skills. It's about learning. And like anything, we get better at it when we practice. So first of all, give yourself time to learn. And the thing is, find somebody to help and support you. Because if you've never done it before, the chances you're not going to do it on your own. Otherwise, if you know how to do it, you would have done it before, right? So ask for help and support. Understand the power of help. And that's one thing as human beings, we're always shy of doing. We are afraid of asking for help. Men and women, both the same. It shows up in a different way, but we are afraid because, especially if we're an adult, grown up or whatever, and if we experienced success before and so on, I say, well, I should be able to do that. And what are people going to think if I ask for help, right? So go to somebody you trust, somebody who you feel that you can emulate, who's a role model to you, first of all, right? Don't go and ask your neighbor. Don't go unless it's somebody who is your role model, but ask somebody who is in the space where you are, where you want to be. That's one thing. Then commit, it goes back to that, and then commit to do the work. And doing the work means the step by step. It's one step forward and another step and another step. Keep building and keep building. Give yourself grace. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. Give yourself grace, right? We're so hard on ourselves all the time. We keep, how many of us say, yeah, okay, I did that, but I didn't do that, and I didn't do that, and I didn't do that, right? We focus on what we did not accomplish. And in the process, we forget everything that we've learned. We forget everything that we have accomplished. We do not recognize how far we've come. That doesn't help, because it actually brings us down instead of building up who we are. Celebrate every single win. There is no little wins. A win is a win. A win is a win. And the more we celebrate those, the more we imprint in our brain that we're capable of doing it. The more we tell ourselves, yes, I'm moving forward. Yes, I'm getting stronger. Yes, I am doing what I'm supposed to do. So there's a lot of things, as you can imagine, we could be here for a long time, but this is part of that. It is find the right coach, the right mentor. If it's too easy, whatever your goal is, if it's too easy, you're probably not going to do it, because that means if it's too easy for you, it's not meaningful enough. And that's one thing that I know, that I've learned and that I observe with everyone who I work with. We are ready to make an effort when it's meaningful enough. And that means somehow we get a bit scared about what we want. If it doesn't scare us to some level, then it doesn't matter that much.
I love that. If it's too easy, it's not meaningful enough. It's a good choice, but it's not a great choice. Oh, yeah. So good. So good. Bernadette, so many amazing gems. I love it. I love it. Last question. In terms of where you are now in your life, everything that you've accomplished, how do you define success today?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, I'm my trajectory is really all about happiness. And that's definitely one thing and I've been on that trajectory for years and years and years. But success for me is, in terms of the work that I do, I always say I do what I love and I love what I do. Which is why when people ask me, Bernadette, when are you going to stop? When are you going to slow down? And my answer always is this. Is, what do you mean? I'm just starting. Because my desire is to help as many people around me that I know, or maybe I will never meet, reach that level of success that they want. That they want, not the success that others are telling them that they should have. Right? It's really just my mission is really to help people be their best self so they can be their best life and best serve the world. And that's really what it is. So for me, success is as long as I keep reaching out and putting myself out there to be able to do that work at the individual level, at the team level, corporate level, in community, it's that. And it's really now it's is what fuels me and inspires me. Every person who I work with inspires me, because every time I say, oh my gosh, I need to do this more, and I need to do this more. I can do this, I can do that. So that's why I keep also adding on and expanding, because for me, life is about expanding who I am. And when I expand who I am, I expand my reach, but more than my reach, I expand how I'm able just to be of service to others. And let's be clear, service is how I'm helping them grow, build the life that they want, the success that they want, whether it's personal, professional, financial. It's not just it's not esoteric. It's not just an idea. It's because reality is there, and we need to take care of the reality as well. So, it's the expansion of the mind, the expansion of your life, the expansion of your experience. So, it's a journey that doesn't have any end. And I love that. And I absolutely love that. And for the thing is, you mentioned something is, I'm very much about woman leadership expert. Absolutely. Because I love, I'm a woman, so yes, I have a soft spot for that. But to me, it's all about showing the women in particular, that they have power and talents, and we're too shy about it. We're way too shy about it. And I've, why did I deliver TED Talk is because people don't know that, but I'm very introvert, very quiet person. I said, enough, there's too many of us who are not speaking up. And we need to break that mold.
Oh my God, getting goosebumps over here, Bernadette. So good. You're definitely expanding right now through the screen.
I mean, imagine if each and every one of us, to everybody who's listening, imagine if each and every one of us were really stepping into our own power, and without being shy about it, without being apologetic about it, but really just being confident and bold, but not in an aggressive way, just with confidence and being right. What is the impact that we would have as an individual and as a whole around the world on the next generation and the next generation and the next generation? that is, to me, is why I'm doing what I do. Not just for the women there, but it's for our children, our daughters and our son, and then granddaughter, because they need to understand that there is no limit. I believe that, to what we are capable as an individual and as a whole, but we've got to step into our own power, and we need to learn what that means. And that's why it goes back to the beginning of what we were talking about: self-leadership. Self-leadership. Understand how, I always say, is what is your impact of your self-leadership, and then your leadership on others.
I just need to let that sink in. I'm furiously taking notes here, Bernadette. Bernadette, amazing, amazing, just talk and conversation. Like I love to have you on the show again. Like you're just throwing like amazing advice, left and right. But most importantly, as you said, going back to yourself and leading yourself first, and doing it well and stepping into your power, and imagine the immensity of all that power collectively. We all do that. So amazing. Bernadette, where can folks find you online? How can they connect with you? How can they start learning?
Well, thank you for asking. The two easy places, that is on LinkedIn, Bernadette McBurnie. You'll find me. I'm there. And then also my website, BernadetteMcBurnie.com. So very simple. Just Google my name and all of that, and then you're going to be able to find me, in a number of different places. But those two, it's fairly simple, very easy. And for anybody who wants to learn more, then we could have some chat and have those kind of discussion.
Excellent. Bernadette, thank you so much for being on the show. I look forward to having you on again.
Thank you very much, Dominique, for inviting me. It's a pleasure. First of all, you and I, you're connecting this, and and thank you for what you do to really just bring that energy to the world. I think that's just fabulous. So thank you so much for having me.